Okay, IGGY members, for this chemistry question we're going to be talking through a metal ore calculation. Now, from my flick through of recent exam papers, this is quite a common question that crops up, okay? So an example I've got on the board here, but what you're going to be asked to do, okay, is calculate the percentage mass or the amount of a metal that's contained within an ore, okay? So this question gives you two metals. It says you can extract copper from both copper oxide and copper sulfide, okay? So what it gives you, it tells you straight away in the question that the percentage mass of copper in copper oxide is 88.8%. Okay, and now it wants you to work out the percentage mass of copper in copper sulfide, okay, so that we can compare and contrast the two. Okay, so the first thing we need to do is calculate the molecular masses of all the things involved, okay? So I've got up on the right here, I've got some notes. So we've got the masses of, the atomic masses of copper, oxygen and sulfur, and these are available in the periodic table that you get with your exam paper. Okay, so I'm just going to go through how they got to 88.8% and then I'll do the question, okay? So we need to calculate the molecular mass of copper oxide first. So the way we do this, we check the formula and we say, okay, so we've got two coppers. So that means the mass is going to be 2 times 63.5, okay, plus the mass of an oxygen, which is 16, okay? So then that will give us 2 times 63.5 plus 16 will give us 143, okay? Now the molecular mass of copper sulfide, since we're here, we'll calculate that as well. So that equals, again, we've got two coppers, so it's 2 times 63.5. And then we've got a sulfur this time, so instead of plus 16, we've got plus 32, okay? And that will give us 159. Okay? So that's the molecular masses of those two. So now we can go on and we can calculate our percentage of mass. So we need an equation as normal. So we have, let me just double check. So we have the percentage mass of whatever, so we're talking about copper in this case, is equal to the mass of copper in our sample divided by the mass of the sample. Okay, now we need to be careful. When I'm saying mass here, I mean the molecular mass and the atomic mass. I don't mean grams, I mean these kind of numbers that we've calculated over here. Okay, so for this first part, okay, we have, we need to calculate the percentage mass of copper, and we're going to do it for this first copper oxide, this 88. So we know we've got two coppers in there, okay, so our mass of copper in our sample will just be 2 times 63.5. Okay, and that is divided by the mass of the sample, which for copper oxide we've calculated to be 143. Okay, so if we calculate that, that becomes 127 divided by 143, and then that will equal 0.888. And then to get that into a percentage, we times by 100, which gives us 88.8%. Okay, so that's how they got that question. So now all we have to do is exactly the same thing, but for copper sulfide. So what I'll be able to do is just change this number on the bottom, okay? So we can get rid of this, okay, and I'll change pen. So this becomes, instead of 143, it becomes the 159. 159, okay, and that again, that remains 127. Get rid of that, that becomes 159. Okay, and so now we can change this number because we know we'll have something different. And this will equal 0.798. So then we times that by 100 again, and that gives us 79.8%. Okay, so that's the first part of that question done. Now the second part of the question says how many grams of Cu in 1 kilogram of copper sulfide, okay? So, from that first question, we know that in a sample of copper sulfide, 79.8% will be copper. So, very simply, what we can do, if I crouch down here, we can do 79.8% times by the mass. So we've got our 1 kilogram here, so we can just do 0.798 times by 1,000, yeah, because 1,000 grams in 1 kilogram, and that will give us an answer of 798 grams. And that's it. After the question, you might be asked a more philosophical debate about which ore is better for processing. So, do we think it's better to use copper oxide or copper sulfide? And the answer to that question would be, it's always better to use copper oxide because the percentage of copper relative to other elements is much higher. So from a kilogram of copper oxide, you would get slightly more copper.